Welcome to the Point Noted podcast with your host, Johnny B, and co-host who shows up whenever he wants to, former NFL player, Rashad Barksdale. It's raw, unfiltered, and no topic is off limit. We talk sports, entertainment, culture, and a whole lot of random shit. Let's get to the point.
Point Noted podcast. I'm your host, Johnny B. And I got my guest host as usual, OCO. And today we have a fun conversation. We're not sure where we're taking this, but we're taking it somewhere. So it should be fun. We got a guy in today that's just here to just talk to us. We just want to talk. So y'all give it up and welcome Pat to the show. Pat, how you doing, my man?
Oh, good. How you doing, man?
Great. Good, man. How you doing, OC?
Doing good. Welcome, Pat.
Hey, it's nice to be here.
How you guys doing the COVID-19 out there, man?
Oh, man, I'm fully locked down. Hardly ever go out, playing with my damn Corona beard out of boredom.
So you really don't have anything?
You're saying you don't look like your Twitter Twitter picture anymore?
I mean, actually, officially today I shaved it all off, but man, I look like a guy living down by the river not too long ago.
There you go. I know. I've been putting the razor to my face and my head as well, just shaving it off every week, man. You know, it's amazing. There was, I think it was in Texas, right? There was a barbershop, like an 80-year-old man that runs a barbershop, and he kept it open. No, I think it was Michigan. And he just opened it up. He was like, look, I'm tired of being in the house. I'm going to go out there and start cutting hair. And I think the state demanded that he shut it down, but it wouldn't. So all these dudes went up there to protect them with guns and just stand in front of the door saying, we're not letting the police come in here with a warrant to close down the shop. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I saw some of that.
We had a lot of those COVID nuts, protesting, right? I live down the street from the Capitol in Sacramento, California.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But the one thing we don't have, thankfully, is open carry, because you see some guys with bazookas there, and that's going to freak you the fuck out.
Right. Like, I just can't. Really, why do we have open carry? Like, I don't care what state you are. There is no reason for citizens to just be walking around, civilians to be walking around with open carry. And they're not carrying pistols either, No,
it's just pure intimidation.
It has nothing to do with the Second Amendment, nothing at all.
I think it's worth mentioning is some of these cats, though, that we've seen. Like, I saw a dude with the bazooka.
And coffee in Starbucks.
Yeah, and literally we find out a few days later it's like a prop from one of these games, like Fortnite or something.
Are you for real?
Yeah, so some of these dudes, and then another guy was carrying this long gun, like something that looks like it'd be shooting a 50 caliber or something, but it was made out of wood, like it's almost like cosplay, but not all the time. I'm just saying there's some pictures out there where when someone looks like they're carrying something super ridiculous, it's probably a prop. But those guys in Michigan were for real.
They were for real. Those guys were real malicious. They were out there ready to do damage. I think they would have faced up with the law enforcement and just let it fly. I don't think they had any problem getting into a wild Michigan thing.
That's true.
Yeah.
But what I would ask Pat is this, and Johnny, I don't know if I'm jumping in here, but
no, go ahead, please, go ahead.
What I would ask is, when we get on Twitter, you see a lot of these pictures, and the reflex for most people is, MAGA Nation, whatever the case may be. But I kind of look back and I say, how much of this is the government's fault? Because you literally have people at home for 3 months. Right. And you've had 3 months to make policy that would affect those people, to make it so that they could stay home and try to, as they say, flatten the curve. But all you've given these people is $1,200 for 3 months. And even the $1,200, many people haven't gotten. Most of the unemployment checks haven't reached people. So how much of that, obviously, not everybody feels entitled enough to show up outside with a gun. But if you've been home for 3 months and the only way you think you can get your voice heard is to protest, whatever that looks like, how much of that is on now so-called establishment Democrats, establishment Republicans just playing games?
Yeah, honestly, I'd put it, almost entirely on that. It's a mix of that and the media. But look, I have a lot of empathy for people that want to get back to work.
Right.
These people are hurting. You got to give them some money. You can't ask people to just starve in their apartment or something.
Right.
So I feel for them, but what are you going to do at this point? I mean, the argument is that economically they're better off getting out to work, but if
Right.
they get out to work and the economy just has to recede even further from the second round of this stuff, it's going to hurt them worse in the long run. But short term,
Right.
you gotta eat.
Right. 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 And then you wonder why only $1,200, right? We see the cases for other countries where they're giving out 2,000 every month or every week. I'm not sure what it is, but
Every month.
significantly better
Every
than
month.
what. Right. Okay. So
In
a lot better
Canada.
than what we're getting here.
Mhm.
So I just
Yeah.
understand, like, and it's crazy, right? Because, and we had this conversation yesterday. Is, how come we can get this money out to the corporations and Wall Street, but when it comes to giving it out to the people, it's hard. Like, how come? Like, why is that such a difficult thing to do?
Yeah, I mean, we've just lost all power within our own party. I mean,
Yeah.
when you got the Democrats advocating for bailing out the lobbyists before another second round of checks.
Lobbyists, man. Lobbyists. It is unreal how much the windows moved on this. It's unbelievable. They're gonna bail out lobbyists before the
Yeah,
people.
and you got to realize too, that's just the House bill. That's your opening position. So
Wow.
the opening position before you negotiate with the Senate, is focused on the lobbyists. Like, who do we have there representing us anymore? And even the progressive wing, I mean, I understand the pressure they're under to get something across, but all the progressives ended up caving and voting for the bill.
Yeah. Pat, what's your background? Have you run for office before? Did you do political science, or what's your background? Like, how you get
Yeah.
into how do you get into politics and being so deeply involved and connected with all this stuff?
Right. So, I mean, I've always, followed politics really closely, but I was one of those guys that didn't get really involved until 2015, I'd say, Bernie's run.
Mm.
Okay.
I was disenfranchised with Obama, like a lot of
Okay.
progressives.
Right.
And I took to Twitter. I was in grad school, and I'm actually still in the same damn grad school. I'm taking my time.
Take your time, my man.
Yeah, I'm taking the slow train. But I just needed to vent and get my point across. I had no plans on becoming like a semi-known, Twitter personality or whatever you want to
Right.
call me.
Right. A political consultant.
Yeah, but I mean, I dabble in everything. I go to protests. I
Right.
cover some of the events as a journalist. I've covered like the California conventions, and I go and film and
Oh, that's
film
great.
some interviews, that kind of
That's
stuff.
great.
But mostly, I got
Yeah.
on to vent and rant and share my view.
And there's a lot of people out there that wants to vent and rant. So it's a pretty large community out there on Twitter, on whatever social media medium you're on, that feels the same way. We all have things to say, and we all mad about something. So I'm pretty sure it's easy to just kind of get in there. Do you feel like you've been able to reach out to folks and connect it and have like-minded people just kind of to talk and understand that, okay, I'm not the only one out there. We all feel
Right.
the same way.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's not like I think I'm going to change the world, but it's we're up against such a top-down message from the media that just works for these corporations. So,
Mm-hmm.
this is how we fight back. We collectively, between hundreds of us, thousands of us, our voices add up, and hopefully, take over at least a chunk of the media that people absorb. It's the
Right.
only way we can cancel out what they say, on CNN and MSNBC, and
Fox.
it does make a difference.
Right.
I have to ask, how crazy is it? Because at the end of the day, the things say a Bernie stands for. It's a populist message at the end of the day for the common man, right?
Yeah.
And that happens to be good for people on the left and right. I mean, not is every idea perfect? Probably not. But how is it that a cause like his has somehow been, even in the, say, what you would call a more liberal media, it's just completely maligned? And it's almost like it's by design, where you have a Fox on the right, MSNBC on the left, and both are basically teaching people to conspire against themselves. And how do we get over that? How do we reach across? Because we need common people on both sides understanding these topics more deeply. Because right now it just seems like a food fight all the time on Twitter and wherever else.
Right. I mean, personally, I think we just have to continue doing what we're doing and taking over a bigger piece of the media pie in a way.
Mhm.
You know, if you look at the younger generations, they consume a lot less CNN and MSNBC, and
Yeah.
and that's part of why this populist movement was able to thrive in the first place with Bernie. Is that that's why it was more popular with younger people because they're less indoctrinated into believing the mainstream media. And
Mm-hmm.
the younger generation is super progressive. They believed and they do believe in all the populist platform that Bernie brought forward. They always supported Medicare for all. I mean, you name it. The Green New Deal is real important to them. All these things that, how much do you hear about the Green New Deal on television? Like
Zip.
You
never,
don't. You don't.
never. For the whole last 2 years, all we heard was that nobody likes Medicare for all. And
Right.
then, even in their own exit polls, when they were reported on the primary, they had to admit that every state, the voters wanted Medicare for all.
Of course.
So exposing a lot of the hypocrisy and that the media really is out for the corporate interest first is the key. And then, the bigger the younger generation, the more they take over, the better chance we have at that, because they already believe, they consume Twitter more, Facebook more. They're not on TV like the last generations used to be.
Right, right. But I guess
Right.
also that's still kind of on the left, like a silo on the left. Like
Right.
what you represent on Twitter and your followers, north of 40,000. Is there like someone on the right that is speaking to some of this populist, same kind of message? Yes, with a tilt to it from the right. Is there any of that conversation you're having actively, like partnerships, like joint
Right.
town halls or whatever? Because honestly, I feel like it's never gonna happen if the grassroots on both sides don't come out against corporations and politicians, etc. Is there anyone you're talking to bridge that gap?
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I have private conversations with some right wing, even MAGA people that just I've gotten to know over the years, and we talk
Hmm.
once in a while. But no one of stature, and I don't know of any sort of organizing force trying to make that happen per se.
Right. Right. So let me ask you these though. So obviously the biggest thing the last 24, 48 hours has been Joe. And and his little misspoke, I think it was. Or just Joe being Joe, with Charlamagne the God
Right.
yesterday. So and I've seen, your opinion on Joe and all of that good stuff. So fair to say you hate Joe, right? Uh
Yeah. I mean, look, he sets. He's like 1930s progressive.
mm,
He's not like 2020 progressive. I mean, he's setting us back forever. He's
mm,
the architect of half the problems we're trying to get rid of right now.
right. But but how do we get here? That's the thing. Bernie was popular, right? Bernie has a big movement, but Bernie could not get over the hump with the establishment, right? Like they didn't want Bernie there; they wanted Joe. So Joe's what you got, right? Joe
Right.
is really what you got now going against Trump. So my thing is like everybody's mad at Joe. So what's the other option? You gonna vote for Trump? Because if not, I think they need to quiet down a little bit about this whole what Joe said and all of that. Like, let's get the man to get out there and apologize. But I'm not. This is just me. Look, what he said was wrong, but you know, Trump's got 3% of African American votes. He's not getting mine. So, but
Right.
he's got 3% of the vote, and that's not going to change. Not because of what Joe said. So, why are we still focusing on that though? Like, that's the thing I don't understand after this whole thing happened uh, yesterday. And
Yeah.
I like to go ahead.
No. I lean on my position is to deny my vote for Joe in a hope to force some actual real change, even if it's only minuscule in his platform. And
Okay.
you know, I I'm torn on the position of is it better long term
Mm-hmm.
for Biden to lose and
Mm-hmm.
us pressure for more reform in the party and or get a third party candidate that's valid and up to snuff and whatnot, or do we just suck it up and get Biden in there? I don't think that's an answered question, to be honest. Like, what's better long term? Not for 4 years. The next 4 years would be better off with Biden. I have no question about that. But that puts us 4 years behind, the Green New
Unreal
Deal.
change.
And then, I don't plan on being around for 4 years. I plan on another 50 years.
Right.
So when a party has gotten to this place where they could undoubtedly win the election if Biden just came out aggressively for Medicare for all. I mean, it couldn't be more clear right now that that's the solution people need when you got 40 million people losing their jobs,
right,
and their healthcare is tied to unemployment, and all the medical debt that's going to come with this, and just keeping your society safe is going to take Medicare for all.
Right.
But he can't even come out and pretend to support it.
He came out the opposite. It's like, I'm not for it. I'll never be for it. It's like, didn't you just form like some economic council to tell you what the best platform is? You're not even faking that anymore.
Right. So, in the long term, are we better off? I mean, look, and what's going to happen anyway is kind of how I look at it. Like, look, once this gets down to Trump Biden officially, Biden is going to get smoked. I mean, the only thing that could save him is a disastrous corona response, which we've had. But you see, even today, Pennsylvania, Trump's ahead.
Is it?
Yeah. So he's not doing well in the swing states, and there's just no enthusiasm for Biden. And elections come down to motivating your base, enthusiasm, having a lot of people that passionately go knock on doors and make phone calls. And here you got Biden, who didn't even set up offices in most states.
Right. I mean, it's pissing off the wrong crowd too. That's the thing right now. Joe is pissing off the folks that he needed to get out and vote for him. And you know how Trump does his marketing in his campaign. He takes those snippet and those takes a little soundbite. I saw T-shirts out there saying "You ain't black." I mean, I'm not buying it, but it's pretty funny. I see it, and I won't be surprised if Trump start wearing that in his next rally, and saying you ain't black. So, look, I'm confused as well. I don't understand what exactly the plan is, but it felt like Joe feels entitled that, listen, we know you hate Trump, so you got to vote for me. It's basically what his campaign is.
That's
you
hate
Trump,
premise,
you got to vote for me. And Trump is out there trying to get his supporters, and some supporters are like in the middle, like those voters that are like not sure where they're going. Trump's trying to get them. And you know what? He might get it. Might he? Could he?
Yeah, I mean, in a normal world, you'd look at his disastrous presidency and say, "No, he's done."
Right.
Especially with the Corona stuff. But we're a polarized country, and you got to look at his supporters and how they feel, and their base is more motivated, in my opinion, for him than Biden's base, and that matters in elections. I mean, it's not just who should win.
Right, absolutely.
I think what's very interesting and what people discount, especially the liberal media, I'll never be the one to come up here and say, "Oh, Trump is a political genius." I'm not saying that, but he has an instinct, whether it's an intelligence instinct or not. He has an instinct that is very, very effective. And now he has a team around him that can basically work with that, his instinct, his charisma, whatever you want to call what he is. And he has a way of motivating the people who follow him. And they are as motivated as ever. Just as people are motivated on the left to say, "Oh, look how terrible his policies have been for the coronavirus. Look, all the people." They are just as effectively turning that on its head for his people on the right, and they are just as energized. The left, it's a hoax, it's this, it's that, whatever you want to call it. The point is, they're going to come out and vote. But on the left, now you have Biden like self-emulating. He's like killing himself with gaffes left and right.
And that's who he's always been. I mean, his career is that. So, the problem is the media, CNN and MSNBC, they pretty much shielded Biden from all his flaws, right? I mean,
100%.
So all that stuff that they've hidden from people or undermined or, minimized, it's there. And it's just, it's always been fodder just sitting there. And Trump's team has had 2 years to come up with how they're going to attack him on this stuff. I mean, he wrote the crime bill. He authored the Patriot Act. He praised segregationists. I mean, there's a lot of bad stuff for Biden out there. He dropped out of his last presidential run because he was plagiarism.
Right.
I mean,
Tara
here we are again.
Tara Reid issue still there?
Yeah. Well, just this year, he said that he's still telling the lie. Like, he's got staff that keeps telling him not to keep saying these things. And he said for years that he marched in the civil rights movement, which he didn't.
Gosh.
He said he was down in South Africa, got arrested trying to meet Nelson Mandela. That didn't happen.
Fabricating things. My man just fabricating things, huh?
Yeah, and these should be huge stories, but to shield Biden, are the real press that most people watch didn't really cover it.
It's tragic. Right. There's a video I sent to you, John, about 2 days ago, and it's an old video by Jimmy Dory. Pat, you probably know who Jim Dory is. It Dory or Dore? I don't even know.
But, Dory, yeah, I was actually on his show once. So
okay.
Oh, nice, very nice. Pass me around.
This was, and he didn't even do anything. He didn't edit it. It was a news report from the 80s, when Biden was going against, I never can remember his name because he didn't win anyways, but it was an evisceration for all the plagiarism issues. I mean, an evisceration by the media. And today, it's like they forgot all that existed.
Yeah. I mean, they try to hide him under, well, he was good enough for Obama, and Obama vetted him, and they just leave it at that, pretty much.
Basically. Right. But so here's my thing, and I keep going back to this: is Joe's record, right, and his principles haven't changed. He's been the same Joe for 40 years, and with that same record, he was vetted for Obama as a VP. No one talked about him because, like I was telling Olsen before you hopped on, Pat, was when Joe was a VP, he was like a backup quarterback, right? No one really cares who you are because you would never get the ball. You never get into play.
Right.
Now Joe is a quarterback because Obama being the main quarterback, the franchise retired or got hurt. Now Joe has to step up. So now when he stepped up, we can see, he can't pass the ball. He can't go to his left. He can't read defenses. So now he's getting exposed. So
he gambles on the games.
Right. So the backup quarterback never changes, right? You only see the changes when they get in the game. So Joe's been who he is for 40 years. His record has been the same. But yeah, when he stepped up, right, everybody chose him over Bernie. And I can't get over that. Like, I still don't have enough good reason as to why did they chose him over Bernie. And I see a lot of Bernie bros out there. So my question for you is, why do you think Joe was able to push Bernie aside? And what happens now to the Bernie bros? Like, a lot of folks still got the hashtag Bernie bros. I'm not sure what that means now because Bernie's done. So who do you guys go for and what do you stand for? Since your leader is no longer active and he's gone. So that's my question for you is, what happened between Bernie and Joe? How did Bernie get over on him? I mean, Joe get over on Bernie. And what happened to the Bernie bros now?
Let me add, it's not only that Bernie is not at the head of the progressive movement anymore. It's also that he's like almost actively shooting it down.
He's working for Joe. There's no question now.
Well, he needs to show his face for Joe because I haven't seen anything. I mean, not since the first week. Go ahead, Pat.
Well, okay. First, I mean, how we got here, I think, is the first question. Kind of like, how did Joe win, right?
Right.
So, I mean, to me, that just shows the power of the media.
Yep.
if you watched, because I'm one of those guys that really despises CNN and MSNBC, but because of that, I watch them all day. I keep it
Right.
on. So I'm really tuned into the narratives and how they try to sculpt things.
Yes.
Right. The bullshit. Right.
So, what they did is they downplayed in the primary all of Bernie's success. I mean, for a year they told people that he should just drop out before this thing started, pretty much.
Right.
Downplayed his success, downplayed the popularity of his programs, told people Medicare for all was going to cost us the election, and Trump's going to win if you go with the socialist lefty Bernie. And so what they did is they basically fear-mongered people, especially the last week right before South Carolina. They said, hey, this is the last chance. Everybody should freak out and consolidate. And then, it was crafted by Obama. He coordinated this mass dropout of candidates.
Mm-hmm.
They kept Elizabeth Warren in there to peel votes because she's the only one that was really peeling votes from Bernie.
Yeah.
And it works. It's the power. It's the power of the media.
So it was orchestrated. Everything was. They were planning all together.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say they planned this all from the jump. I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe they even wanted Joe Biden to be the nominee.
Right.
They couldn't get traction for anyone else.
And they didn't want Bernie.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that's all they care about is not having Bernie. They barely care if Trump wins. They just don't want Bernie.
And I don't understand that. But I guess, that kind of goes back to what happened between Hillary and Trump, right? They hated Hillary more than they hated Trump. So they put Trump in office because they hated Hillary.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a transactional thing from the top. I mean, if you look at who funds the Democratic Party, it's the same people that fund the Republican Party. There's barely any difference. You got Democratic consultants. It's just a big incestuous pool of money, and they take money from the groups that want to stop Medicare for all. They take money from the groups that don't want to lower the drug prices, and so, it all trickles down from the top. At the top, the money comes from the donors, and the donors, they make Nancy Pelosi. Well, I don't know if you've ever seen, there's a documentary, I can't remember the name, but it just shows you how much money it takes to run a campaign.
Yeah.
And so the donors have a lot of power. Like, congressmen, when they go to Washington, 40% of their day is spent in a call center with binders full of donors, just begging for money for people.
Yep.
So that's why these donors have tremendous power in the party.
Yep.
Right. Well, that's just crazy. That's just crazy, just to be able to do that. And here we are. We have Joe, and everybody's complaining about his potty mouth and the crazy thing he's saying, and how he just doesn't seem like he cares. He's like, look, I'm riding this. Y'all gonna vote for me anyway because you hate Trump. And Trump is like, hey, you don't care about your vote. So come on over, join me. Let's ride this together. And I think that's where we are.
The problem. Go ahead.
That is where we are. I mean, but the problem is, look, Trump's a lying con man, populist, fake, fake populist. He's not really here for the people at all. No. And we know that, but his people don't know that. But so here you got this coronavirus wrecking the economy, and the healthcare system is exposed as being woefully inadequate. And so Biden is out there saying no Medicare for all. Well, so what happens when Trump 3 months before the election decides I'm gonna tell people I'm gonna implement Medicare for all in my second term?
He will.
Now what happens?
He plays dirty. Mm-hmm.
Now what happens? You got Joe Biden on the record saying he's against it. It's terrible.
Right.
He can't be for it. He's not going to switch his position.
He's never done that. That's the thing. And you're right. He never will. He's just going to stick to his guns and say, look, fuck everybody's health. I don't give a shit. If you're sick or not, I'm not giving you Medicare for all. So fuck it. That's basically where Joe stands. And Trump's going to come in and say, you know what? I made America great for 4 years. I'm going to make it greater. Everybody get free health care. You get a car. You get a health care. You get health care.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you saw they already put together a commercial based on, coming off of the Charlemagne thing with the Breakfast Club,
Yes.
attacking
Yes.
Joe on, writing the crime bill. And,
Yep.
if look, Trump's never going to get the black vote, as a whole or a majority. But if he
Yeah.
gets, 15%, that's a huge swing in the election.
It's gonna be tough
He's
to
not
get
gonna
15.
he's not gonna get the black
Maybe
vote,
5.
but
He can shoot for 5%.
he can suppress it in
Yeah,
Yeah.
many ways. He
exactly.
can
Yeah.
suppress it through. You can see he's already actively fighting mail-in ballots. You can see also he can suppress it by just putting out real information that the media didn't. He put out real information on Biden that the media didn't
Right.
put out there, and
Right. He's good at that.
people are just going to sit at home.
Right.
Right. And that's it. Politics 101 has been thrown out the window by all this propaganda. So, forever they taught in politics that the way your candidate is strongest in the general election is to be thoroughly vetted in the primary, so that any obstacles and any issues he has or that are perceived by the voters as weaknesses can be overcome. And that does two things. That makes them look like they handled and addressed the issue, and it makes that issue not as powerful to bring up again by Trump.
Right.
But so our media did the opposite. Our media
Absolute opposite.
let Trump present all these flaws for the first time to the public.
In detail. That's what people didn't realize too. The whole Ukraine thing, it wasn't like, oh, Trump wanted to find something out about Biden and expose it at the time. Most likely it was, these idiots are going to do the same thing they did the last time. They're going to accuse Biden. He's going to win. And when he wins, I'm going to have info on Ukraine. I'm going to have info on China. I'm going to have info on everything. Whether it's true or not, he just can throw it. He can sling the dirt.
He doesn't care. Right.
And
Right.
it just makes people not show up to vote. So it's an incredible time. It's like, I have to tell this story. When the day before the election last time, 2016, I happened to be on a work trip, so I took my wife and my daughter because I had been gone for so long. I said, you guys come along. So we were in Nigeria at the time, and the election night. So my wife is like, "Oh, let's stay up. Let's figure out who's going to win, whatever. See who wins." I'm like, "Go to bed," because Trump's won.
Right.
I just knew it. I just knew it because Hillary, to me, it was a forced candidate, and they've done the same thing again. And it goes to what Pat was saying: is do you just say, "Oh man, another 4 years of Trump, it's so bad, it's embarrassing. America is the laughing stock of the world, blah 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 blah," whatever your position might be. But if you effectively vote for Biden and he wins, you basically give the establishment, the Democrats, like, they think this is the right playbook to suppress people like Bernie. And they're going to go back to it again. And then you just keep pendling back and forth. It's a pendulum between establishment Republican, establishment Democrat. And we just keep swinging back. And the thing about a pendulum in this case, it seems like it's swinging to the more extreme sides of things. And it's a mess.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is both parties they've both swung so right, and they're both so corporate owned, basically. So, the Democrats, all they really have is, 1980s social issues like, oh, we're for gay marriage. Well, okay, that's gone. We get that. We're good. Oh, you're not racist. Well, yeah, it's 2020. You shouldn't be fucking racist.
Right.
It's not a huge thing. I mean, but then the right comes up and they're racist. So now it's like, well, that's what they've got. We're not the Trump racist party, which thank God we're not. But I mean, on economic issues and on what affects people the most, they're pretty similar.
Absolutely. You just hit it on the head. To that effect, right? A lot of what I was telling Johnny offline before is we need leaders that are not just thinking of present day issues, but future issues. And I have to be honest, that's a lot of what drew me to a lot of what Andrew Yang was saying.
Yang
Because
gang.
yeah, because he was not just identifying the issues we have now, but he was thinking of the issues that were to come. And you just said it. This is everything. A lot of the issues these guys bring up and discuss should have been done. Like, I don't care if you're pro the abortion issue, LGBT issue, all these things, like you said, the 80s issues. We should have figured this out. We should be done with it, and we need to be moving on to things that are affecting people's lives. And I was kind of disappointed that a lot of the progressive candidates this time around didn't like lock arms. I didn't see Bernie reaching out to Yang. I didn't see him reaching out to what's the Hawaiian lady,
Tulsi.
Tulsi. I didn't see that. And look how effectively the establishment people, like, literally Pete leaves the election one day. The next day he's on a flight. He's at a Biden rally. Same thing with Klobuchar. It's like effective, like boom, boom. Then the tweet came out from Kamala, everybody, boom, 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 boom. And
Right.
It's like all the momentum is behind Biden, but I didn't see that happening with the progressives. And I have to ask, Pat, like, even Tulsi, the last time around, had come out against the DNC saying they were, stacking the deck against Bernie. I didn't see Bernie reaching out to her at all.
Hmm.
So what happened with that?
Yeah, I mean, I have real mixed thoughts on Tulsi, honestly. Like, she earned my respect by dropping out in 2016 or 2015. I'm not sure which year it was, but she was the vice chair of the DNC, and she dropped out so she could endorse Bernie. And, she was responsible for exposing a lot of the problems within the party leadership, So I think because of that, she was seen as this de facto hard left progressive that she never really was, in my opinion. I think she's someone that had integrity, but I just disagree with her on policy left and right.
Which ones?
Well, I mean, look, to me, the gold standard for being a lefty or a progressive is Medicare for all.
Right. I agree.
And she came out with, she didn't even tell people what her policy was on that forever. And she could have been an ally, pushing strongly for Medicare for all. Same thing with Warren. I mean, Warren sort of did. And then when she got pressed on it, she had this mealy mouth, in 10 years, we'll get Medicare for all thing. But so I don't know that ideologically Bernie and Tulsi had as much in common as people tended to think.
So then what I would say to that is, and this might be the biggest issue, I think, with what you would say, I guess, the progressive umbrella is like there's a purity test thing that maybe it's reducing the size of the tent. Because I don't know if you would agree, but say, like, if someone is anti-war, as Tulsi was, so many other things that she brought to the table. Maybe she didn't come out for Medicare for all, and there was some nuance and conversation to be had there. But there were so many other things that you would say she was progressive about. Are we making that tent too small, or there's too many tests that we can't grow that tent?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. I think that's to be determined still. I mean, if you look at every single policy position Bernie had majority support in the country. I think what made 2020 unique election-wise, and that kind of separates from answer, doesn't provide us the answer yet to that question, is that Bernie was uniquely the only option really to me this cycle. And I think most progressives tended to see it that way.
Right.
Because he'd already built the grassroots up he'd done the work and had the backing, and for someone like Tulsi to come up and actually win, and she would have to take Bernie's support away from him.
Right.
And, he came off of 2016 with this huge organization. They built Our Revolution up, which went around basically setting the stage for his candidacy, and getting other progressives elected too. But, so he'd done all this work. So it wasn't like, in 2024, what's going to happen is you're going to have 5 or 6 progressive-ish candidates sort of on par with each other. Nobody was going to have the credentials that he brought this time around.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't think the answer is a more, nuanced centrist tent or
definitely not centrist.
Yeah, not centrist, but I mean, I think it's reframing the argument in a way that appeals to people on the right more, and like with Medicare for All, for example, that is surprisingly popular with Republicans. I mean, it had 51% support with Republicans in the last major poll.
Right.
And that was before the corona hit too, so you got to appeal to the right with some of those issues, but we're still stuck in this weird world where, abortion and guns are going to separate the parties.
Right. It forms the basis, and that's what the media basically perpetuates that for the parties. If you were to go back and critique the movement this time around with Bernie, some of the things, all the punches he pulled, I think, if I was a man in his position, and I knew what was at stake as he does, there were a lot of punches that were pulled on a lot of debate stages. How would you have done things differently?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely in the camp that he should have punched back harder. He could have done it in a polite way, just pointing out the record of Biden. I mean,
but why does it need to be polite?
Yeah, I mean, he walks a fine line. He's so vilified uniquely by the media because they're in the never Bernie camp.
Right. The angry guy.
So look, do I think they should have punched a lot harder? Yeah, I definitely do. And I think some of that was consultant driven, and his campaign, basically in the top tier of his staff, was split. There's half those people would have been fine with Warren winning, and then half of them were just all hardcore on Bernie. And so his messaging was kind of soft a lot of the time. But the one caveat I'm going to say to that is, despite all of that, up until the consolidation, Bernie had won pretty much the first 4 states.
Right.
So when we critique his strategy, we don't have all the information he had, and despite all the mess, he was winning. I mean, if South Carolina didn't happen, he would have gone into Super Tuesday, and probably won the thing.
Yeah, I think for me, I think Bernie lost, like you, and I think you mentioned this earlier, was because the party did not want Bernie to win, because Joe came out of nowhere, and basically Joe was sent out there to give it to Bernie.
No, but we always knew Joe's run, if it would ever survive, was going to start in South Carolina.
Right, that's true.
And
right.
One thing I'll say, Pat, and Pat might disagree, is I think everybody knew that was happening, and something was happening on the ground in South Carolina. I remember listening to several interviews on different podcasts. There were people turning like, okay, this is Biden country. But people were like, really though? And there was some conversation going, and I was kind of disappointed to see Bernie never, listen, Jim Clyburn was never going to endorse Bernie.
Right.
It was never going to happen. But it shouldn't have precluded Bernie from reaching out, meeting, talking, having those conversations. That's the game. That's the politics. I didn't see, and I go back to like the Tulsi, and listen, there was some energy behind Yang. There was some energy behind Tulsi, especially when Hillary came and attacked her. There were so many
Right.
people, like even people on the right, were like, "Oh my God, Hillary! Whoever
Right.
whoever Hillary
Right.
attacks, that's who we're voting for." I think
Exactly.
if some of those people were brought in and reached out to, it would have, once the consolidation happened from the establishment side, if some of that was happening for Bernie, man, I think maybe it wouldn't have been fixed everything, but maybe there would have been a counterbalance. And the South Carolina thing was so overt, it was so insane how much of a lopsided win that was, and I don't think he could ever recover after that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what happened. And then they had, I think, 10 days before Super Tuesday
Oh yeah,
to basically, puff up Biden and say the whole universe is behind him now,
the
and
comeback kid, the
and Bernie
comeback kid.
Bernie after losing one state he was always supposed to lose gets labeled a loser and has no shot
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Right. Right. Terrible. Terrible. So how? So I mean, what's the plan now for the party? Like, do they vote for Joe? Do you not vote? Do you vote for Trump? Because, like I said, in my opinion, Joe's not going to change. Even if he come out tomorrow and apologize for what he said, he still got his history behind him, and that's not going nowhere. But that was there before, and it's still there now. So, if you were talking to Democrats and you saying, okay, and they're asking you, all right, Pat, what should we do? What do you say? Do we vote for Joe? Do you tell them don't vote? Do you tell them vote for Bernie? I mean, for Trump? Like, what do you tell them?
Or do we just wait for AOC 2024?
The sure thing, and I have the liberty of being in California, which we're going to vote for the Democratic nominee no matter what. It's
Right.
It's just
That's a state, yeah.
It's a state, right?
Yeah. So I mean, personally, I'm going to vote most likely for the Green Party, hoping to get them to 5%, which gets them. It's easier for future ballot access, and then they get federal funding and stuff like that. So it helps grow the third party.
Mm-hmm.
So I think anyone who's definitely in a safe state, I would recommend doing that.
Okay. Okay.
After that, I mean, I think it's. I'm my personally, if I didn't live in California, I would still not vote for Biden.
Wow.
I think we're at a point where the world needs to see just how bad Trump is, and that the Democrats put up a candidate who is extremely unlikely to win that fight, and
Another show,
right?
And didn't care, and that's the only shot I think we have of actually, getting real change. Yeah, I mean, and look, I know there's a lot at stake. I know you got the Supreme Court. I know you got, I know it's 4 more years of terrible, fucking, disgusting racism. But if we don't have an opposition party, which the Democratic Party is supposed to be, what does our country look like 10 years from now, 20 years from now?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, look, it's an unknown. I don't profess to have the answers. I don't hate people who are all in on Biden. That's fine.
Yeah. Have you thought about running? Have you thought about starting as a councilman or, just doing something in politics? Have you thought about that, or you just, okay, sitting back fighting for the people from behind the closed doors?
Right. Personally, I don't want to get into politics. I mean, I wish I could go to sleep and not care about all this.
Right.
Honestly,
Right.
I'm so jaded and disenfranchised at this point. But look, I'm supporting as many organizations I can, like Rose Caucus, the United Left. Those are 2 groups that are trying to bridge progressives between the different factions.
Good.
Because I don't like the Green Party, to be honest with you. They're not run very well.
Who are they running this time?
I think it's going to be Howie Hawkins.
Okay.
Howie Hawkins. Okay.
And it's not that he's bad, but I mean, he's got no shot at winning this thing. Don't get
none. Just a waste. Right.
Yeah, to me, the vote is just about growing a third party.
Right.
And so you got DSA, you got Movement for a People's Party, you got the Greens, and I support the groups that are trying to pull them together, basically. So there's more of a coalition. And ultimately, the nice thing that what I would like to have is, they hold sort of a pre-primary, and, all those groups put up their guy and then agree to support whoever wins it. So you got maybe a DSA candidate running against a Green candidate. But then you end up with a big coalition at the end.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's a pipe dream at this point.
So for a second there was Justin Amash making some noise that he might run. What were you thinking when you saw that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to back him, but go for it.
Right. Listen, man, the more faces we can get running, I think the better it is. I know OC and I talk about it all the time. Do we need another well-established run third party? I think we do, and maybe it's not the Green Party. Maybe it's another party is going to come up.
Right.
Somebody else has to be able to put somebody else there where we can have it. Because right now, you think about it, the last two elections being the less of the two evils, right, between Hillary and Trump, and now we got the same thing now between Trump and Biden. Everybody hates both of them, but you got to vote for one person. So we need a third party, that can stand up and say, "Look, I'm here. Vote for me," right?
Yeah, I think it's the only shot we got at actually changing things. I mean, in 2016, the Republicans ran their least popular presidential candidate in history. 2016, the Democrats ran their least popular candidate in history. So you want to talk about us losing our power? I mean, the whole election was voting against the other guy. And so what do the Democrats do coming off of that? They do it again.
And do it again. Couldn't beat anybody else in 4 years to be able to stand up to Trump and fight. So
yeah, and I don't think there's the hatred for Biden that people felt for Hillary. I'm not saying that, but
no, not even close. Even close.
But if you just look at Biden's mental state, I mean, this is the guy you're putting up to save the country from Hitler.
Do you think his mental state is worse than Trump?
No, but I mean,
they have two different issues.
I mean, they both got mental issues, but the memory is kind of shot for both of them. But
yeah, but I mean, my point, I guess, is more that okay, we're in this existential threat of Trump, and you're not going to go with someone who's a little sharper,
right? Yeah, right.
I mean, this is supposed to be the end of the world if we get 4 more years of Trump.
Right.
Yeah, and here we are. But so when you're not dealing with politics and you're not out there just scratching your head about the nonsense that Biden is speaking out there, what are you drinking? How are you relaxing these days, man? What are you drinking to relax? What are you doing?
Yeah, I'll take a bourbon.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and I see you guys do some sports stuff. I'm a big Warrior fan, so
Warriors fan. Okay, yeah. So
which I like the underdog, so I kind of had to give up on them the last couple years. They were too good.
Come on! You're supposed to be enjoying that. That don't last for too long.
Yeah,
and now they've moved to San Fran.
No, San Francisco.
Killed. It's just like they're too bougie now.
Yeah, I like being the underdog and having some cheap seats.
So, who's the new underdog team you're rooting for in any sport?
Honestly, I haven't followed any of it in the last year. I mean, last year was not a great time to be a Warrior fan, and then now here we are. So,
right, yeah, but they're gonna get a top 5, I think top 2 pick. So, not a bad thing at all to happen.
Yeah.
Bring all your superstars back, and then you get to pick the first and second player in the draft. Boy. My Knicks need that. We need that in New York. We keep getting all these guys in the middle of the draft, not doing nothing. Absolutely doing nothing, man. So, all right. So, what are you listening to? What do you have that playing? What do you listen to when you're relaxing, or when you're in the car, when you're working out?
I'm an old school reggae guy.
Old school reggae guy. All right. You talking Bob Marley?
Take my Marley all day.
Lucky Dube.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually, I'm not sure if you heard in the background, I have Bob Marley playing. He's always playing in my background, so that's something I listen to.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely, man. But hey, Pat, we appreciate you coming in and stopping by, man. I appreciate the conversation. Thanks for putting time aside to just, kick it with us and hang out and talk about all the crazy shenanigans that's going on out there, man.
Hey, absolutely. I appreciate the time myself. Happy to anytime.
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure we'll reach out again. All these races keep getting closer to the time. We'll reach back out to you, jump on the call, and, we'll do another one of this and just talk about all the craziness. So we'll see where we go with it.
All right. Appreciate it.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks, Pat.
Thank you, Pat. Keep doing you. And I think people like you are the ones who are going to help bridge
going to make a big difference.
And
Absolutely.
grow some fans out there, because it seems like it's just WrestleMania all day long. But I think at the end of the day, people on the left and right need the same kind of help. So,
yeah. Right. Well, hey, I appreciate what you guys are doing, though, because, I go on these shows once in a while, and it's everybody agreeing with you down the line on everything. And I think, I think we need a little more nuance and discussion on these things.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, man. We appreciate that. And that's what we try to bring, is just to hear you out, let you know where we stand, just talk about it, agree to disagree, whatever the case may be, just to have a good conversation. And
I'm good with that.
And leave it at absolutely. That's why we're going to do it again, man. Thanks for stopping by.
All right. Take care, guys.
Enjoy, Pat.
You too, Pat.
You've been listening to the Point Noted Podcast with Johnny B and Rashad B. Follow us on Twitter at PTNoted and Instagram at Point Noted. Hit the subscribe and follow button to follow us and check out more episodes of us talking a whole bunch of shit. You've been noted.